Cyprus is an island located in the Mediterranean basin, and its total population is around 1 million. But why a land this small and underpopulated has two different administrations? The island was annexed by the United Kingdom after the Ottoman Empire entered the World War I in 1914, and the United Kingdom governed the land until 1960. Cyprus's population was 78% Greek and 17% Turkish. Also, both groups wanted independence from the British rule. Greeks attempted to revolt in 1931, and after that attempt, the UK banned teaching of Turkish and Greek history and exhibiting of Turkish and Greek flags and national heroes in the island. This decision made both the Turks and the Greeks mad. However, their goals were not the same either. Greeks wanted the whole island to join Greece, but Turks wanted to divide the island into two separate countries. In 1950, Greeks held a referendum about whether the island should join Greece or not, which Turks boycotted. The referendum resulted in 90% of voters voting to join Greece. After the referendum, Greeks started to arm and conduct attacks on the UK administration and the Turks. By that time, Turks started to arm as well, and the UK was struggling to hold the situation under its control. Therefore, in 1960, the Republic of Cyprus was formed under the guarantorship of the UK, Greece, and Turkey, with a pre-made constitution that all parties, including Greek and Turkish Cypriots, agreed, which states that the relationship between the Turkish Cypriots and the Greek Cypriots is not one of majority and minority, but of political equality, where neither side may claim authority or jurisdiction over the other. If any country was to try to invade Cyprus, or if the nations in Cyprus themselves was to try to halt the constitution, these three countries would have the rights to conduct a military operation to prevent that. However, although the president of the newly established Republic of Cyprus, Makarios, said, "Sending cordial good wishes to all the Greeks and Turks of Cyprus, this day will be the beginning of a new period of progress and prosperity for our country." At the end of the negotiations, only months later, he was saying, "The agreements do not form the goal. They are the present and not the future. The Greek Cypriot people will continue their national cause and shape their future in accordance with their will." He increased the dose of discrimination in his speeches in the years to come. In a speech on 4th September 1962, President Makarios said, "Until this Turkish community, forming part of the Turkish race, which has been the terrible enemy of Hellenism, is expelled, the duty of the heroes of EOKA can never be considered as terminated." Unfortunately, President's speeches were not the only aspect of the Cypriot politics that became increasingly discriminative. According to Law 173 of the Constitution, there must be separate municipalities in the 5 main towns, one for Greeks and one for Turks. Makarios refused to obey this law, which caused Turkish Vice President to threaten to veto some of the tax laws. After the dispute became bigger, Turkish side took the matter to the Supreme Court, which consisted of one Turkish judge, one Greek judge, and one neutral German president. Court decided Law 173 to be applied. Makarios announced he will ignore the Supreme Court's decision. Supreme Court's president resigned, and rule of law in Cyprus has collapsed. Only 5 months later, Makarios demanded the 8 of the basic articles to be removed from the constitution, which had been put there to secure Turkish side's rights. Even though the conditions are formed for military operation by the guarantorship states, neither the UK nor Greece were doing anything other than condemning the events. When Turkey decided to conduct a military operation, the US President Lyndon Johnson sent a letter to Turkish Prime Minister saying, "The US does not allow its own weapons and technologies, which were bought by Turkey, to be used in an operation against Republic of Cyprus. Otherwise, the US will react very harshly," which resulted in Turkey giving up on the operation. Makarios understood that he will not be touched, and continued to the removal of the 8 articles unilaterally. Head of the Cyprus army, Lieutenant General George Karaianis, told a Greece daily magazine that Makarios decided to organize Greek Cypriots for battle and arm them, and if the Turkish side resists to the unilateral changes, the forces of the Minister of Interior will use force to put down the uprising. And that is exactly what happened next. Attacks on the Turkish population was started, and people had to leave their homes and jobs to find a safe place in only one night, so they migrated to the north of the island. The most famous one of these attacks is Bloody Christmas, which happened on a Christmas night and had a broad repercussion in world press. It is nonsense to claim, as the Greek Cypriots do, that all casualties were caused by fighting between armed men of both sides. On Christmas Eve, many Turkish Cypriot people were brutally attacked and murdered in their suburban homes, including the wife and children of a doctor, allegedly by a group of 40 men, many in army boots and greatcoats. Although the Turkish Cypriots fought back as best they could and killed some militia, there were no massacres of Greek Cypriot civilians, quoted The Guardian. This situation continued for 10 more years. Greece's democracy was halted by a military coup in 1967 and was being ruled by a military junta for 8 years, and on 15th of July, 1974, Greek junta conducted a military operation to Cyprus and replaced Makarios with pro-Enosis Samson, and Samson declared the Hellenic Republic of Cyprus, which was supposed to join Greece after a short while. Turkish government heard the news on the 15th, and decided that a military intervention was necessary. On the 16th, even though Turkey had the rights to conduct the operation by themselves, according to the Treaty of Guarantee, Turkish officials first contacted with the UK to conduct operation together, since the UK was also a guarantorship state and had military bases already in Cyprus. But the UK refused, and on the 20th, Turkey started the operation by themselves. In 4 days, both the Greek junta in Greece and in Cyprus resigned, and Turkey stopped the operation for the peace talks to begin, with more news coming from the non-Turkish military-controlled areas about attacks on civilians. In the talks, Turkey and the Turkish Cypriots demanded a two-state solution. Greece, Greek Cypriots, and the UK refused, and talks came to a close on 8th of August, with no solution. As a result, Turkey finalized the operation and gained control of the northern Cyprus. After the operation, the US applied embargoes on Turkey and Cyprus for acting hostile, but not on Greece, since apparently conducting a military coup in another country and halting the constitution that you promised to secure by treaties is not hostile in the US's eyes. In 1984, Turkish side declared Turkish Republic of Northern Cyprus. The United Nations declared the situation as invasion. Peace talks still continued, and in 2004 a single-state solution was voted in a referendum, which Turkish part agreed but the Greek part didn't. This shows that even though Southern Greek Cypriot administration doesn't want Turks to be part of their country, they still want the full island. In 2005, Southern Greek Cypriot administration entered the EU on behalf of the full island, but most of the privileges are not applied to the Turkish side. They buy vaccines on behalf of the full island, but they use all of them on the Greek side. They make deals, sign treaties with the neighboring countries about neutral energy reserves on behalf of the full island, but the energy can only be used by the Greek side, and when the Turkish side still wants to join despite all had happened, Greek side refuses. This story is the proof that there can't be a single-state solution in Cyprus anymore.